It's very good to be back in Munich, and I notice I've been in Europe for a month now talking to publishers throughout northern Western Europe. And not much has happened in Germany in the press this last year, as we know. We just have paywalls, we have sales, we have consolidation. And in my own country, I noticed that not much has happened. When I left the country a month ago, we had a government, and tomorrow when I get back, we'll have a government. So we're in pretty good shape. When I got into Hamburg, I saw Rocky, and I hadn't seen Rocky for many, many years, but I know Rocky is very big and coming to Broadway from Hamburg. And I think it's a perfect metaphor for where we're at with the press as we approach 2014, the need to find confidence. And I want to talk about that this morning and give you a quick tour, a fast-moving tour of what I see in our landscape, US, Europe, and really worldwide now. Okay, let's see. It worked a minute ago. If not, there we go. So, it's weak. I'll try it here. So, it's been 23 years since the web browser went up. And if you ask people where they are in their progression on a 1 to 10 scale in the digital transition, I did this in Berlin. I asked Matthias Döpfner and Andrew Miller from The Guardian, and they said respectively 4 and 3. So a lot of work, and some of the more advanced publishers in the world aren't even halfway. Where we are is into the age of crossover, and I've been describing this now for 2 years. This is how many of you in this room probably feel, and the people who work for you. It's like walking a tightrope. You know where you're coming from, a very stable place, good profits. Everybody knew their place in the community, and we're not quite sure where we're walking to. Impossible for everybody, even me, and I do this more than full time, to keep up with the changes. I think many days we feel like this. Partly digital. There's a statistic from Mary Meeker, which has now been well disputed on the web, that we're using smartphones 100 to 150 times a day. May not quite be that number for some people, but it feels that way, and we are partly digital, and we are partly analog. We're going from this analog world to a digital world, and from a physical world to a virtual world. Very important for us in the press, and I come out of the press, 21 years with Knight Ridder, to remember it's not just about us. This digital disruption, this digital revolution that is happening is about the entire society, and especially media. And we look at how digital disruption has changed media. Video stores, largely gone. Music stores, largely gone. Bookstores, Borders #2 store in the US, closed in bankruptcy. These usually end in tiers. They get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they go bankrupt. This is an interesting one. Electronics. Best Buy killed all the competition in the US. 10-year, 15-year battle, kill all the other big box electronics retailers in the US, and now it is struggling for its own life. So we'll move them off to the side here. We'll see how they do. And newspapers, about 25 actually closed in the US last year. So across media, we're seeing this kind of disruption. Smartphones. I'm sure just about everybody in this room has a smartphone. 10 years ago, we certainly did. 5 years, probably only a few of us. Now, worldwide, smartphones are greater than dumb phones. eBooks. If you're an Amazon customer and you have a Kindle, you buy 4 times as many books as if you only buy print. Crossover happening in books as well. Music, this is Time Warner. Time Warner, one of the top 5 music companies, just reported it's selling more digital music than physical music for the first time. And the industry will be there, the music industry will be there probably in about 2 years. Crossover. Digital video recorders. A lot of time shifting, a lot of movement in how people are watching TV across the West. In the US now, we just passed the point after TiVo came out on the market and digital video recorders came out 10 years ago, where 50% of the households have something in their house where they can delay watching and watch when they want. Linear TV, the TV we all grew up with, where you turn it on and watch it till the end, is ending, but slowly. Most significantly, digital ad spending. Money, it always comes down to money. And in US, Russia, Brazil, Australia, 2012, that was the crossover year, where digital surpassed print for the first time. And that gulf is growing. And globally. So digital advertising is now number 2 globally. Well, what's the next crossover? So it's not like there's enough problems and enough difficulty for everybody in business, not just publishing, but any kind of media. The next crossover, which is right upon us, is the coming mobile majority. Now, if you look at it, we've gone from this was a miracle in our lifetime. Remember that first computer, and it didn't even have hard drives, but you could get any place in the world, and how amazing it was. That's just about 20 years ago. We loved these things at the beginning. Then they became huge anchors, and we said, who would want such a big thing? And now, quickly, desktop. The desktop, to some extent the laptop, is becoming the new print. The actual number of desktop minutes is starting to decrease for a number of publishers. And this looked like a comic photo 5 years ago. Well, today it is often many family celebrations, many meetings. As soon as there's a break here in the conference, everybody will be on their devices. This is the way we live now, mobile addiction. 33% of traffic to news sites worldwide is now mobile. There are some that are pushing toward 50%. BBC had a mobile majority weekend. The FT tells me that of their subscribers, more than 50% of their traffic is mobile. This is a one-way transition. I think publishers now understand this. 3 years ago, they didn't, and we're still saying maybe parts of this are going to come back. And now this is about managing this digital transition. So, quickly, let's talk about the casualties. And I'm not going to dwell on this, but it's important to market. We're in journalism. We know what's happening. We're not alone here. Let's look in one slide at the carnage here. Music. So music's downsized. Music industry just grew worldwide 0.3% in 2012. First growth since 2006, which is the last year most of the newspaper industry had a really good year of growth. So downsized for music. Books, disrupted. Bookstores, physical bookstores, disrupted. One major chain left in the US, it's struggling. Independent booksellers struggling. The author landscape has changed because of digital pricing and the pricing pushed and set by companies like Amazon and Apple. Magazines are down. Magazines never liked the internet. The internet was not good for magazines. They love the tablet, and they're starting to actually make something of the tablet. Advertising down, readership down, single copy down. TV, pretty interesting here. Disturbed, let's say. We're no longer watching in this linear way, especially young people. There are cracks in the business model of TV, and we're starting to see it in TV revenue. But newspapers, uniquely, have been devastated. The one big number that we can take away here, 2007, 2012, down 39%, $51 billion a year taken out of newspaper companies worldwide. The numbers differ somewhat between Germany, Middle Europe, UK, US, all the same direction. The trajectory is a little different. Where did it go? Well, in 2013, $99 billion in digital advertising will be sold worldwide. $99 billion. That's a lot of money. So when people talk to you about digital dimes, the problem is publishers are getting the dimes, but other people are getting the dollars and euro and pounds. And here's the problem. 5 companies take 2/3 of that money. $99 billion, huge amount of money, still growing, maybe 10, 12% a year. And it's Google, which takes 41% in the US, I think closer to 50% in Europe, but I have not gotten that verified recently. Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, AOL, and Facebook take 2/3 of that money, and they're gaining a market share point every year. 17,000 newsroom jobs have been lost, 30% decline. And so across the Western democracies, this is the problem you cannot put a number on. We don't know what we don't know. The job loss in the US is much greater in Europe, but now we're starting to see it across the board in Europe of fewer and fewer journalists. And yet, this is where we turn to the future and the confidence, understanding exactly where we're at. There is a coming golden age of media and commerce. So what do I mean by that? 7 reasons here to be confident about the future as we go into 2014. The audience. We have a revenue problem in the publishing industry. The audience is huge and is growing more quickly now than it ever has before. Now, we know that anybody has been able to get, as these sites have been free, they've been able to get at our content from anywhere, and that's great. But now, because of smartphones and tablets, we actually are seeing a doubling of, and this is a US number, of internet minutes. And this is in a short period of time. Smartphones up 4 times, tablets up, of course, from 0. So people are spending a lot more time. Well, what are they doing? They're doing lots and lots of stuff. They're listening to music. Yes, they're listening to music. Pandora, very big, the Spotify of the US, 16% up in minutes over a year's time. Amazing. But what we care about is news reading. And Pew tells us that news reading is going up and up. People are spending more minutes. In fact, the last report they did showed 13 minutes a day more news reading. An amazing number. So number 2, paywalls have proven that readers will pay for digital access. All access is this model from Spotify, FT, local papers. We have lots and lots of evidence that there is a single model that consumers like. I pay you one time, you get me your stuff on all my devices. Very, very simple. One key to it is uniqueness. Netflix said just delivering a lot of movies isn't enough. We need to produce independent programming. The same is true of news. If you have unique content, if you are a local paper, or if you are a very strong national paper with a lot of your own original content, we've proven you can charge for content. But you have to have a unique content set or value proposition. The Spotify All Access plan is pretty similar. On the right, that's where everybody's going. I want it everywhere, every digital device. I'll pay a little more for it. And if it's under €10 or $10, even better. Books, it's even coming to books. Oyster, not quite up yet, but has announced 100,000 books, we don't know which ones, at $9.95, flat price. You have all access to all these books all the time through all your devices. We don't know when Netflix for news is coming, but that's a separate discussion. So the old choice with paywalls, print for $200 to $400 a year, free digital. Then paywalls came along. New York Times, 2011, many, many papers. The new choice, very, very different. $300 to $500 a year, priced up, and now digital is included. We will be amazed when we look back that that first choice was out there for so long and this industry survived. More than 550 dailies across the world now have paywalls. One-third of the US papers have paywalls, and Northern Europe is populating with paywalls very rapidly. papers in Australia, Latin America as well. So the big number from what we're learning, you can make more money from readers. That's what I call the revolution of reader revenue. In the U.S. last year, U.S. newspapers took in 5% more in reader revenue than they had the year before. First major increase in a very long time. But what's coming is paywalls 2.0. And this is Mark Thompson, new CEO of the New York Times Company. And he's calling what I call paywalls 2.0, he calls working the engagement curve. What does this mean? It means uniquely readers who read news publications online touch that publication many times during the day, many times during the week. It's a marketing dream. Most businesses want customers to touch them. News companies get it all the time. So they're working the engagement curve. Build. Okay, what Build's doing with football. Same thing Murdoch is doing with the Times in London. How do you add more products that aren't just news subscriptions and see what people will pay for? So it's a new age of storytelling, number 3. Absolutely amazing age of storytelling. New York Times did snowfall, video, text, photos, and now the word snowfall is a verb in the New York Times newsroom of how to compose stories differently for a company that is steeped in 150 years of words. Huge traffic. Smaller operations, California Watch in California. They wanted to tell a story of the danger to schools physically in California of earthquakes. They didn't do it just with words. They did it with video. They did it with visualizations, localization. They even did a coloring book for kids so kids could understand what was going on and talk to their parents. Many, many ways to tell stories these days. The second screen phenomenon. Do you know any publishers that are taking advantage of this? The fact that people are using second screens so much now as they watch TV. So the tools of the storytelling age, and let's remember this because we've lived through this and it all seems normal now. For research, we use the internet. We used to use the phone. Creation, we have text, audio, video, animation, visualization. We didn't have those tools. We're just starting to use them after 20 years. And then distribution. Google, Facebook, Twitter, they're a big competitive threat in a lot of ways, but they also take our content and put it out there in front of millions of people. So the storytelling is very important to our future, and we are storytellers. Know it better than anybody else, tell it better than anybody else, and find someone who will pay you to tell it. Which gets us into commercial storytelling. Content marketing taking off here, content marketing now getting very big in the US, native advertising. This is just storytelling. Companies are coming to publishers because why? We know how to tell stories, and other people don't. Washington Post is one of many companies getting into it. Number 4, let's remember where this is going. 2014, unfortunately, still going to be a big struggle. But these digital economics can be a godsend. Wall Street Journal, I dropped my print subscription that I'd had for a long time. My wife didn't like the papers stacking up. I pledged to read them some year, but I never got to them. I went online. I said, okay, so what exactly are they doing? Well, I can get the digital editions 6 days a week, and the price, $4.99 a week. Print, $5.99 a week. So I'm now paying 83% of the price of print to get digital, and of course, they don't have to print the paper or distribute it to me. These are good economics at the point that I become like the majority of their customers, or the majority of their customers become like me. Now, another example, and I would urge each of you to think this way. We have learned that not only will readers pay, they will pay much more than you ever thought they would pay, the traditional habituated readers. So what's the FT doing? The FT is one of the smartest companies in pricing and analytics, and they said, readers do not care how much it costs you to produce a product. It costs so much less to produce a digital product, readers don't care. So we're going to charge them 87%. Journal charges 83%. FT charges 87% of the print price. But better than that, we're going to throw in some new columns and database access. We're going to have a premium subscription. Go to ft.com/subscribe sometime. And what you see there is that nice golden bar. Well, you don't want that little gray bar. That doesn't look good. That's too small. You want the golden bar. And if you press on that golden bar, you're paying 113% of the print price. Amazing. 33% of the people who get to that page and sign up take premium. It looks better. Some of this isn't hard. Number 4, reader-publisher relationship has never been closer. Look where we've come. Users. I hated that term, worked in Silicon Valley all that time. Users, all the tech people would talk about users, and they thought they were experts on audience with their user research. Turns out many of them were not. So we've gone to users. We're coming back to readers again. Readers revenue. We know these people. We know that relationship between editors and journalists and readers. And back to subscribers. The web's not free anymore. Wow, okay, they're customers. They're subscribers. We know what that word means. And readers and subscribers know what it means. It means a relationship. And where are we headed? We're headed to members. About 36 companies are doing membership. They're testing it out. You really have to make a promise that works, but it's a different relationship. LA Times, Boston Globe, smaller papers, like the Day in Connecticut. This is all about relationship. Pay me one price. I'll get you your stuff on all your devices, but I'll also send you ebooks. Boston Globe, recipe books every quarter. They'll do serious journalism, produce one book a month, and provide it to their members at no charge, and then they sell it on Amazon and other places. Take a look at Trib Nation sometime. So Trib Nation is very interesting. You are a member of Trib Nation. They're doing more than 100 events a year. They're getting in the community. They're doing many kinds of offers, discounts. It seems to be a real program. Daily Mail, which has long had a mail rewards program, is figuring out how to take that to their digital advantage. Number 5, smart publishers will use these relationships to sell more stuff. I did a post called The Newsonomics of Selling More Stuff. Very kind of slangy, but it's essentially where we're at. Why sell people only one thing, a subscription or a single copy newspaper? And if they say no, you walk away. When in fact these newsrooms are producing reams and reams of useful content if you can figure out what's useful to whom, when, and at what price. We are just starting to get to that selling more stuff. Editorial stuff. So the Times, because of the engagement curve working, will have 2 or 3 new products separate from the subscription, one a food and dining product, one a need-to-know product, a smaller price for younger people. Politico, 100 people covering politics and government, which is always a sport in the United States. They figured that out. Big success story, but they said it's not enough. We're going to do a push into the B2B market. We're going to do sponsorships. We're going to do events. And they focused on these 7 areas. All of you have strong business groups, verticals in your areas, nationally and, of course, locally. And they said the people in these areas want the same thing as our general readership, but they want it faster, they want it deeper, and they want more detail. For the public, it's free, ad-supported. For these people, $3,000 to $8,000 a year per seat. And they are now profitable, and they have hired another 100 journalists to make that business work. So there are new ways to sell more stuff. You got to figure out the storytelling, you got to figure out the reporting, and then you got to figure out who's willing to pay. Ebooks. In general, ebooks, 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20, they'll make a little money, mid-tail, long-tail. In Canada, though, an investigative series from actually a freelancer took off just recently, $200,000. So taking what we do and turning it into a lot of products which can be made cheaply is a good idea. Chicago Tribune revived what had been practically a dead idea in the United States, a printed book section, but charged $99 a year. It is now profitable. Commercial stuff. So advertising. Advertising is splintering, but we have companies selling digital services, going to local merchants and selling them search engine optimization and marketing and site building and Facebook. Major push in the US. Content marketing. Well, we're storytellers. How can we help you tell our story if you pay us? Native content, similar to content marketing. Video. Video's taking off in a huge way for commerce as well. And events. People want to be part of trade shows. Every kind. Kids, seniors, home, bridal, you name it. Advertising is splintering. And who is the king of selling more stuff? Well, ironically, Jeff Bezos. Now, I love this picture of Bezos because it looks like he's having a good time, and he should have a good time, given the success that he's had. But he's having such a good time. He's relaxed. He wears what he wants. There's a new book just came out this week, The Everything Store. That's what he's created, the Everything Store. He knows how to sell stuff. So, fresh minds, number 6, are rethinking the business. This is Don Graham, longtime CEO or chairman of the Post Company. Very simple truth when he sold. He said, we needed new ideas. Yeah, they didn't like the financials, and that's true, but they needed new ideas. So, they turned to Bezos. Bezos said, what do I bring? Well, I bring runway, which was saying to the newsroom, I'm not going to lay anybody off for a year. I'm going to give you some time to figure this out, and I'm going to use my techniques. So what does he see? Huge question. I got a lot of press calls when this happened from Germany and other places. Well, he sees an incredible enduring brand, a global brand, incredibly strong brand in Washington, D.C. and nationally. He sees the fact that it has massive penetration in print and online. He sees that there are hundreds of thousands of paying customers. This is a guy who understands customer relationship management in a way that few other CEOs do. He's got those tens of millions of Amazon customers, and he is trying to please the hell out of them and make more money. It's very simple to him. And so what did he just buy for a measly $250 million? Hundreds of thousands of relationships with readers, thousands with advertisers, and bonus, rich trove of data. All this data flowing in all day long from the news products to classified products that nobody's making use of. He's going to use the analytics to sell more stuff. So what does Bezos see? I think this is what he sees, and this is important to us as we look hopefully more confidently in the future, thinking about these strengths that we have as an industry, Germany, in the US, across the world. He sees the future, not the past. So many people in our industry say, well, we're half the size we used to be. We had this problem. I can't get this guy to do this. And he says, oh my God, look at this future. He hasn't seen my 7 points, but I think he would agree with them. He would say, look at this future. It is a rosy future, and I know how to make the most of it. So he looks that way. He looks at the future, not the past. And he says, I got a premium respected business. He got it for a relative song, $250 million. And he's building from what he is taking over today. A solid foundation, and he's going to build from there. Lastly, our democracies have never needed us more. Now, my country is the poster child for this at the moment. But, and Germany may seem like the most stable, I think, of the Western democracies at this point. But we know of the deep, deep problems that need to be faced, from environmental issues, global warming, health issues, immigration issues, deep financial issues that need to be faced and are kind of being kicked around as people are not wanting to really confront these issues, whatever your politics are. The position of newspapers in this time needs to be even more forceful, not to say do this, do that, but to say we will take on these problems as communities and societies. We are strong, we are vital, and we have never been more needed. I'm hopeful that will happen. So how do we get to 2018? A because I think we have several more tough years of transition. Let me sum it up with 5 things here. Number 1, be editors, be marketers. What are the core skills? Well, we know how to tell a story. We know how to do reporting. We know how to be accurate on an incredibly timely basis. Most people don't know how to do this. That's why content marketing is taking off. Marketers, digital services is taking off because we have a lot of expertise at helping merchants sell stuff. And it's not just about selling space, which we've done for centuries. It is all these other techniques. There's a little learning curve there, but we have assets we can bring. So be editors and be marketers. These are our core skills. Do more, not less. Hugely important. I've seen so many people shrink. Partly, there's less money, but there's also less confidence. The sense of we don't know who we are because somebody doesn't seem to like us as much because they're not getting as much money in today as we used to get 5 years ago. The audience is huge, and the way to meet that audience is to do more for them and find creatively ways to do more and not less, and to earn the future business. Act on mobile. So we are going to be mobile majority. That's a fact. What does that mean in terms of how you create your products? What kind of products do you create for readers and merchants? Number 4, make membership real. Kind of hazy concept. As I said, 36 companies in the US are doing it. What does it mean about the relationship? What kind of relationship do you want with your readers? What can you do for them? Both commercially and in terms of community and their own learning. Use the whole toolbox. It is amazing the tools we have, both as journalists, as editors, as marketers, that we never had 20 years ago. You've got to use them. You have to dive into them. You have to use them. You have to hire people who love to use them. Use the whole toolbox. And lastly, build confidence. As leaders of these companies and organizations, and this is true in Germany and worldwide, people need, even when we have some doubts and we have some fears, because it's proper to have those, to exude the confidence of the importance of media companies going forward. They have a reader importance, they have a commercial importance, they have a community importance. Model that confidence, believe it, stoke yourself up, and get the other people in your companies to believe it as well. So thank you very much. There's some contact information there, and happy to answer any questions into the future.